You can get your first gun at 6 years old, for sure.
How does a 6-year-old get a gun in Baltimore?
I feel like as we remove pain
I
and
mean, it's
suffering from the
easy.
physical body, we actually are affecting the emotional and the spiritual body as well. And through that, again, love wins, right? We defeat anger, we defeat hatred, we defeat pain, we defeat suffering, right? And one person at a time. And that's the goal for upcoming wellness. That was the goal for me, and that's the goal of my life. And this is my story.
Y'all seen a body on the ground? How many of y'all know somebody close to y'all that got killed? How many of y'all went to funerals of people y'all never even put your hands on?
My name is Jared Countess, also known as Prof Corrective, and this is my story. I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, to a drug addict mother and a civil rights attorney for a father. Um, my dad dedicated his life to fighting for the rights of poor people and specifically the Black community in Baltimore, Maryland. My mom, very similar character, but she fell into addiction due to some of the things that she experienced and the pain that she had that was within her. Um, I used to say, needless to say, this, you know, caused some. I used to say, needless to say, this caused some turmoil within me, and uh, I saw some things that growing up and experienced some things growing up that really um, made me angry, to say the least. It really, in some ways messed me up. I won't say it's needless to say anymore because I think things need to be said. Um, I've learned in the last 2 years in this country that there is a large gap in understanding between different demographics. And as someone who grew up in a particular demographic where violence and destruction and death were relatively normal occurrences, and they touch you in really real ways. And I watch the goodness in people, the hope, the light in people get destroyed. I saw good people lose their lives, um, and it really affected me. Not on a personal level, and I decided at a very young age that I would not contribute to um, that cycle, right? A lot of that was due to the influence of my father on a positive end from a moral and integrity standpoint, and on a negative end from watching, um, from living and experiencing, my mom's addiction and the trials and tribulations that she went through and that our family went through as a result. Um, and so, so it's a weird existence, and it kills your hope, right? When you grow up and you experience certain things and you witness certain things, and you have to um, really come to terms with your own mortality at a very young age. That's why I put in there that post about how easy it is to get a gun in Baltimore. And I carried a weapon from the time I was 7 years old. Some parts for my own protection, other parts to, if I was out with my mom or my sister or something like that, to protect the people that I loved, right? Because violence was very real. Death and destruction were a part of life. And you kind of, you give up on hope in an environment like that, or it's very hard to hold on to. Um, that being said, because my dad was a civil rights attorney, we weren't really wealthy. We were lower middle class. My dad never made more than $35,000 a year when I was growing up, which was, in my opinion, and just, going through life, it was more than enough. We could, more than enough. It wasn't more than enough. I had everything I needed. I had food on the table. I had a roof over my head. I just put that clip up of, we did spend a few years living in this little bedroom and sleeping in this little twin sized bed, just me and him, you know, uh, pretty much kind of after my mom's addiction had really kind of hurt the family, so to speak. So that being said, from a very young age, my dad told me if you don't get a full scholarship to school, you're not going. Luckily, decently intelligent, pretty smart kid, um, and I was able to kind of stay out of the fray. I will say this: I didn't really expect to live to see 18. When you grow up in that environment, you really have to, like I said, face your own mortality. And people don't understand. They listen to this rap music and stuff like that, but you really do walk around kind of every day like, okay, I could die today. And to protect myself, or to, sometimes to prove a point so that I'm not food, I'm willing to go to jail for the rest of my life. I'm willing to take a life today. So you kind of live on this edge of turmoil and chaos, right? And again, I didn't want to contribute to it, but I had to recognize it as a part of my reality, and it changed me and it molded me in a lot of ways. It shaped me. Sorry, guys, this is hard. This is difficult stuff to talk about a little bit. You kind of think about it and you kind of go through memories and things flash in your head. It's kind of ugly. So anyway, uh, went through high school. Like I said, I was a good student. Um, wasn't the best student because I sometimes didn't care, didn't have hope, but I was really good. I'm really smart, or I'm decently smart, according to standardized testing. And I did end up getting a full academic scholarship to school. And I ended up getting I was taking some math classes because I was in danger of losing said scholarship, because there are some subjects that I am just absolutely terrible at, like English. If you guys follow me enough, or you hear me talk in some of my stories, you'll see I'm, very Ebonics, very curse heavy. So English was not necessarily one of the best subjects for me. And so I took some math classes, specifically Calc 1 and Calc 2. I went to a really good high school in Baltimore City, a Baltimore City public school. And I actually went to college with 18 credit hours and needing to take no maths or sciences. Really, I jumped, no entry level math or sciences. I jumped straight into, relatively high level math and science. I actually didn't have to take Calc 1 at all. I actually had college credits for that, but I wanted to really learn it. And for me, it was going to be an easy A. And so I took it and I got an easy A. And then I took Calc 2 and I was getting another easy A. And that kind of sparked some interest from the teacher. And, people don't do this. And I ended up getting a stipend. As I was in the process of basically losing my academic scholarship, I got a stipend to become a math major. And so I did. And I spent 4 years a math major. And I really wanted to make a positive impact on the world. And my dad was a lawyer. I thought that was what I was going to do. And I started to get into politics. And I found out very quickly that the world of politics, or as a politician, you are more beholden to your donors than you are to the people. And then in the action, and what I found was that the people actually end up coming in third place a lot of times to the self-interest of the politician. So it's like donor, personal self-interest, than the people, right? And I just couldn't get involved in that world. Even trying to be something different in that world, like you could not be successful unless you could raise money, and I just could not play that game, right? And so, but I did see working in politics, going through life, getting out of Baltimore a little bit. I did see how great this country was, and I came to believe in the United States of America. So I joined the Marine Corps. Again, seeking to make a positive impact. And be honest, I was a very, very angry kid. I was angry and I had a lot of pain and I wanted to unleash it. And the Marine Corps seemed like a positive way to unleash it, because at least I was fighting for what I thought was, the country that most represented what I thought were, God's ideals. Even with all of its problems, with all of the mistakes, with, this country's not perfect. I don't believe that. But I do believe it's the greatest country on the planet. I do believe it offers the most promise to an individual. At least it did. And I could get into a whole nother post about how my views on that changed, or how I woke up to some of, just people's misconceptions, right? And that's kind of why I'm doing this. One of the reasons why I'm doing this post and talking about this is because I came to see that, like, demographically, people have very little understanding of, each other, right? In this country, like, that's all of this division has shown me that we don't really um, understand one another, and we place judgment really, really quickly. And it's been already a recipe for disaster and destruction, and I do not want to see that. Like I said, I dedicated my life to that. And so, anyway, long story short, well, not a long story short. We're not going to do that because this is a very long story, and it's going to be a little bit. And I'm probably going to start it through this because I get emotional when I talk about some of these things in my life and the things that I've experienced. And so I'm going to try to give you guys, as much of my story as I can and keep it as short as I can, but I'm going to try to be honest and clear and concise. And so I wasn't going to do politics. I was looking at getting my bachelor's in mathematics. I was about to graduate, and I was offered a route to a professorship. I was called into the chair of my department's office with my assistant chair, and they offered me basically another scholarship to get my master's, and from there be a TA and become a professor, become a professor of mathematics for the University of Maryland. Um, and I looked at them. I was like, I don't think I can change the world or really make a positive impact through mathematics. At the time, at least, I didn't believe that. And so I was like, I'm going to join the Marine Corps. I'm angry. I want to, do it. I want to, get out there and kind of express myself. And I want to do it in as much of a positive way and save as many lives as I can in the process. So I joined the Marines. That was not extraordinarily long lived. There's a whole nother story behind that, which I will not get into on this. But coming out of the Marine Corps, I did not know what I was going to do. And I ended up taking a job at a YMCA as a personal trainer. And very quickly, what I found was my understanding of physics and mechanics and mathematics was helpful. I was pointing out people's shoulder and back issues, and these people just come to me looking to lose weight. And all of a sudden, they were coming out of it, my shoulder's better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. And it was just understanding, like I said, mechanics. And one particular story, I had this lady named Cheryl Toganagua who came up to me one day after working with me for a month and gave me a big hug and said, I just got up off the toilet for the first time by myself in 6 years. And I could not believe she'd been to physical therapy. She'd done all these things, and she'd had this dual hip replacement. And how I could not believe that how 1 month, after just 1 month working with me, she had made so much improvement. So I was like, well, there is this big gap in how we were training people and how we were, treating pain and injuries. And so I dove myself into that. I said, okay, this could be my purpose. This could be how I can make a positive impact on the world and society at large. And so I dedicated my life to it. Threw myself into as much learning as I could. I studied with physical therapists and chiros and yogis and even shaman, Native Hawaiian healers called kahunas. And all of this knowledge together, I really became adept at solving chronic pain issues for humans. And I've helped hundreds of people up to this point and made a, for sure, positive impact on their life, removing pain for them. And this was the goal. This was the dream, right? And if that's all I accomplished with my life, I would have been okay with. I'll be okay with that. But now I teach. I developed a methodology based off of all these things that I've studied, from physics and math and science to physical therapy and shamanic work and everything else. I've come up with a system, a means to help remove chronic pain from people. And now that is what I teach. While I still help people, I teach my system to other therapists, other practitioners, so that they can expand the work, so that they can make the difference, so that we can solve these problems that for people are very solvable, but going unsolved. And in some cases, the Western medicine world is telling people that these things are unsolvable. And luckily, blessed wise, the information and more people are, breaking down these barriers and kind of exposing these truths about how the human body works, how mechanics are really structured. And that's what my system does, and that's what it's about. And that's my purpose. Uh, as a result, I created Upcoming Wellness. And the whole vision behind Upcoming Wellness, when we talk about mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional wellness, is that if we can truly make people physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy, then the emotion that becomes predominant in their lives as we remove pain is love, right? I feel like as we remove pain and suffering from the physical body, we actually are affecting the emotional and the spiritual body as well. And through that, again, love wins, right? We defeat anger, we defeat hatred, we defeat pain, we defeat suffering, right? And one person at a time. And that's the goal for Upcoming Wellness. That was the goal for me, and that's the goal of my life. And this is my story. All right.